What's up YouTube, this is Slaan here. It's been absolutely months, but we're back for another World Editor building session. In this video we're going to look at Cityblocks, sewers and some other prop style prefabs. I thought I'd break the trend and start in the editor this time. There's a lot of new stuff that we haven't seen. I was just skimming through the last video I released and the city is looking rather bare, and I know streets, extracting, removing prefabs, moving things around, things like that was what I'd mainly covered. This video is going to be more about looking at the prefab pack that I've put together, which I'll have a quick run through all the different categories that you'll see in the editor if you add it. We'll have a look at a few of the prefabs before I show you what I've done, because the point I'm trying to convey with this sort of series at the minute is there's a lot more you can do to the map. It's not just about filling the mixer up and just rolling the dice 2,000 times until you get something that you just kind of think is almost what you're after. It's more of a, you know, go halfway, get a map that you're mostly happy with but doesn't have to be perfect, and then take these prefabs or take your own prefabs and spend a bit of time afterwards before you start your playthrough sexying the map up. Right, so where do we start? If you download the prefab pack, at the minute I'm changing the structure of the download itself. I'm just going to have a single prefabs folder instead of storing everything in its own little category folder. There's no point in having people sift through 25 folders to just stick a bunch of prefabs into the game. They're all sorted within the editor, so it's just an absolute arse. So the next release of the prefab pack will literally contain a worlds folder and a prefabs folder, and that's that. So quickly, we'll look at the Cityblocks first, I guess. So in the same style as Nava's game, and for those who've been playing since roundabout, well, I think Alpha 9 was when Random Gen first dropped, the pimps started putting cities together where basically they would drop 4 prefabs onto what they were calling a city block, which was basically a flat prefab like one of these. They had a little bit of pavement and things like that, but because I've built streets I don't need to include that. This for me is just basically, this is going to help us create the concrete jungle, and I'm kind of taking it a step further because I'm starting to factor in where the buildings are going to go. I've totally switched off from the idea of old style Slaan hatting and making these big massive fucking giant prefabs. Car parks, you know, the connections to the road network and things like that don't belong on a prefab that you're going to chuck into the mixer. The buildings themselves, where you've got bits of roads and stuff like that, they're not going to connect to anything. They're just going to lead to nowhere. Or the Seven Sirens, a guy who I followed from the forums who recreated the Cyberdyne building, and what an absolutely amazing prefab. But the biggest gripe I had, the only gripe I really had with it, is he's included this massive car park and then this big section of highway, and it looks awesome, it really does. But if you can imagine that being thrown into a prefab group in the mixer and then being spawned downtown, the car park and all that looks fine, but then you've got this big chunky section of highway that's just sitting there, you know. I think the best thing to be done in that situation would be to maybe taper the highway off to look like it's collapsed and throw a prefab like that into the wilderness so that it's a standalone thing, and you know, maybe it won't look a little bit sort of out with its surroundings. But anyway, these city blocks are very basic. They're all cut to size, they're all designed to fit in a particular spot. Not all of them are finished, but you can see this is, in the olden days, kind of what I'd done with my city blocks, where I was filling the gaps and just making the spaces in between the buildings look a little bit more interesting. Alleyways, parks, little trees, bus stops, advertising boards, all these sorts of little things. They don't have to be amazing, but they all help paint a picture of just something that looks a little bit more authentic. I'm a massive fan of going into detail without going into too much detail. I mean, there are much better builders out there than me. I've seen people who can spend weeks on a single sort of semi-detached house, and it's like, you know, I don't have time to put that much effort and detail into a single prefab when I'm trying to build a bloody city. You know, I've got to meet myself halfway, and oh, I didn't want to do that. We'll just flick through a couple more of these because some of them look quite bizarre, and like I said, looking at them now, having not seen the city, you are probably wondering, you know, like, what the fuck is this crazy thing, you know? But again, there's the bus stops, more stuff like that. I can't wait to actually show you now because it does look so cool. And there's another one. But this is just the idea that when you've found a spot for a few buildings, rather than try and add all of this stuff to a single prefab, add this as a separate prefab and just drop it in there. You can layer prefabs on top of each other, so even if I drop a building here that had a basement, and obviously this is just solid concrete blocks looking like sidewalk, if the city block is higher up in the prefabs XML, then, as in the game when it builds the world, puts that prefab in first, when your building with the basement gets dropped into its location on top of this, it will overwrite the blocks that kind of sit inside the building, so you would still be able to run down the stairs and things like that. One little problem I did have though is the textures, where you've had two blocks that were trying to occupy the same space, kind of can go either way. Sometimes you'll get the first prefab's texture, sometimes you get the second, which is why I kind of took it a step further and thought, fuck it, let's just cut those holes out. If these prefabs need to poke through these city blocks, then we'll just make the holes, and this is going to feed into connecting the sewers to the surface in a massive way, which I've not really thought about. I know how I'm going to do it, I just haven't kind of planned it out yet. But you just kind of get the idea with the city blocks. And oh, I've got another one there. No, we don't want to save anything. So again, this is, I've kind of broke my rule a little bit because I've used a building on this one, but this was a building that I'd built myself. It didn't have sleeper volumes, so I would add sleeper volumes to this prefab. But the point of using the city blocks is you can build your city shaped area. All of the sleeper volumes and things like that are retained with the prefabs that you drop in on top. Now, when Alpha 18 comes out, if all the prefabs and stuff are broken again, what it would mean for me with this kind of project is I update my city blocks, and the pimps update all of their prefabs, Magoli updates the compo pack, and then my map works again. Awesome. Minimal effort on my behalf. I don't want to take on other people's prefabs as work. This is all about being as efficient as possible, really, like. And then I'm going to get loads of comments now telling us how wasteful and crappy some of this stuff is. But anyway, we'll have a quick flick through some of the other categories. Construction prefabs. So again, these are just little things that I might use to dot around the map. Freight containers, these are a fairly new thing. I don't know if people remember the old Slaan Hatton. That was a proper freight storage area that had a cargo ship and a few cranes, and I intend to sort of duplicate that. So I make all of my props beforehand, and I might copy and paste a single one of these out to make into a single prefab if I felt the need to spawn a single one of these in. Whereas what I've done mostly at the minute, in fact I'll just load it up and I'll show you. We are with docks. So basically I designed all these containers, got them in a way that I was happy, and then thought, right, this is how I'm going to rebuild the old style freight cargo area, but I'm going to do it right from the beginning this time. So all of these bad boys have got loot, whether it's a car, a couple of cardboard boxes, a pile of rubbish. Some of them are piled with bodies, some of them are going to have sleepers and little boss bombs in there, and the sky's the limit, really, like. But if you load it up, you can see how quickly you can build up an area very fast. I mean, this isn't finished, it's basic. You know, we repainted the pimp's crane, modified it slightly with ladders so you could actually climb up, and you know, that doesn't even need to be loot up here. It's just another one of those things that looks kind of in place. And it's like I say, it's not like these are super detailed 10 out of 10 prefabs, but when you see them all together, they paint such an amazing picture that I'm personally really proud of it. Like, I think it looks really good. don't think the pimps have kind of realised what kind of beast they've unleashed when they've gave access to the world editor and the prefab editor the way that we have. Roll on Steam Workshop, that's all I'm saying. And again, this is another one, another work in progress. I wanted the crane moved, I wanted it turned around. So, you know, you'll see little weird things like this, but once you've got the props in place, you can build up things like this very, very fucking quickly. Do your preparation, makes things a lot easier. Well, if we skip through some of these categories now, I'm doing that on the wrong table, aren't I? Highway, I know I've showed a lot of these off. I still need to do the mesh for this one, but the highway now has a T-junction. Woohoo! And that's not it. Be that one. There we go. And again, you know, I've got my own particular layout that I wanted with the highway, but you can do whatever you want really. Smash these up, use them as a starter to build your own style highway. You know, get yourself in the world editor and connect your own cities up on your own map. It's a lot easier than what you might think. Come on, back to the menu. Monorail, so these are fairly new prefabs. These were taking the street prefabs a little bit further. So we're going to have a monorail system, or what's hopefully going to look like a monorail system running out. But you know, I needed small bits, I needed big bits. And once you've got one, that base piece of track, that never changes. And you can get a lot of mileage out of a single prefab. You know, just the silly things like this. And the thing that I love more than anything else is that none of this is set in stone. I've used it the way that I've used it. Hopefully this is going to inspire people to make their own, add to the prefab pack. Not a single fucking person is posted in the Slaan Hatton thread to say, "Ooh, I've took your idea and made some prefab Slaan." I've only been doing Slaan Hatton for 2.5 years, you bastards. I'm not really bitter. I'm not really bitter at all. I don't expect anything from me as I do this because I love doing it. But military prefabs, I think I showed a lot of these off. I'll have a quick flick through the menu. Again, things like this. These were all ripped out of other prefabs, you know. Why reinvent the wheel? Oh, got anything else in there that's worth showing? Streets, obviously, as I've seen a lot of these. And like I say, you can do with these what you please. I would be absolutely thrilled if someone was to make their own map using this sort of stuff. It would blow my brains out. Sewer. Oh, I did put it in the title. I'm just looking there. We're 13 minutes in. We've got 2 minutes to have a quick look at this. I built this in Alpha 17 Experimental. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do sewer wise, but I did have a couple of really cool sections of Slaan Hatton that I wanted to keep. So basically what we're looking at here is kind of taking random prefab into the next level. All these sections of sewer, if we stay on the top before we go inside, you'll notice these coloured bits. So 3 red squares is designed to join 3 red squares. 3 pink squares joins to 3 pink squares, and this is because the pink sort of sections of tunnels are slightly different sizes. You'll notice for the pipes to match up. You know, it's like building a jigsaw puzzle that doesn't have to be put together one particular way. You know, you could copy and paste all these sections out, make yourself a little dungeon, save it as a different prefab, go and drop it into the wilderness somewhere, add some sleepers, your own little loot, and like I say, you've got a bloody dungeon. So nice broken blocks. But if we go back in and we just look at it from this level, there's definitely something here. Like I say, I've started this. I'll show you what I've done so far in the city itself. But obviously without the gaps and fully enclosed in concrete, these are going to be fucking pitch black. Can you imagine trying to run around getting yourself out of here when you've got a pack of dogs or a feral zombie or something chasing after you? and then you boom through the tunnel only to hit a friggin' gate. Ah! Awesome. And that's the type of shit that I'm really going for. Like, we want to get as much mileage out of the map as possible, because an 8x8 map isn't that big, and even though I've nuked the radiation zone so I can keep my 8x8k map, because you've got to think, Nava's game, you only get 6x6, you lose 1,000 meters around every edge. It's doesn't sound like much, but it does add up. But yeah, this was my concept, so to speak. You know, just copy and pasting different bits, trying different things. I've actually used these prefabs, if we go further through, to make individual bits. Now some of these have got sleeper volumes in. If I find a big one that I know has got sleepers. And again, sometimes I've had to slot a tiny little piece in. So this particular bit here, I believe, is only about 4 blocks long. You know, I'd made two nice bits, I put them together, there was a gap. The gap was, believe it or not, that big, so we just dropped that little prefab in to plug it, and you can't notice. It's entirely seamless. It's an awesome way to cut corners and just get things in there. I mean, yes, you could build massive prefabs made to fit, but, you know, we don't have time to be building massive prefabs. Now I want to actually show you these parks as well quickly, because these is just another example of taking a city block and using it for something totally different but kind of similar. And what's the fucking crack with these azalea bushes? Why do they float now? Absolutely annoying. But you know, again, this just looks like a random piece of, why would you make a prefab like this? You're not going to drop it into the random mixer. It's going to look absolutely abysmal if it shows up in a city or even in the wilderness. But there's a method to the madness. But we'll come out now. We're going to load up the current version of the Slaan map that I'm working on. And as you can see, I've been quite busy. But this is the most recent iteration. It doesn't take too long to load up. Performance wise is looking quite good. I mean, it's going to batter your system. It's going to batter your system. If you're playing on a potato, then maybe you want to stay away from the city. I don't know. There's definitely a couple of troublesome prefabs, but not all of them are too bad. I think there's a good balance, because when you consider Slaan, I believe Alpha 15 was the last playable one I released. I mean, those city block size prefabs, 117 by 117, and in some cases like 60 layers deep. That's millions, literally millions of blocks that you're loading up, whereas now we get only the bits that we want. So, as you can see, I mean, this is where I've done the street demo, and the skyline itself is just, it's getting there. It's getting there. So we'll go and have a look at some of the city blocks. I'll tell you what, I'll stick the frame counter on there, because you'll see it's, for this density of content, I can live with 30 to 40 frames in some places. There's a bit of efficiency to go. But this is the one where I showed you the bus stops. You know, there's the random road. The big random hole actually has a building in it. You know, and then these loose little walls and stuff all of a sudden, hopefully, start making a little bit more sense. We'll go and look at one of the ones that has some of the benches and stuff. So now we've actually got little back alleys, you know, just little areas, little food stands. And I don't know, in my opinion, you don't have to go one for one to scale in building a city, but if you include enough of the things that people expect to see, you know, they fall for it and it looks good. So I mean, the city itself, if we bring the map up, the way that I'm working it is, this area here is probably going to be concrete jungle, we'll say, like the Slaan style, just dense, you know, the inner city. Think, I don't know, New York is probably the inspiration for that bit. I would stack this with skyscrapers, but nobody could play it. Now this area here is still going to be quite dense, but this is going to look more like your vanilla cities, but is only going to mostly include commercial style buildings. I've started dipping into the compo pack and dipping onto the forums. The lad and the lass who do the Not a Gamer Gaming videos, they built an IKEA, which was absolutely amazing. And the thing is it takes a custom map to be able to sync prefabs like that, and that's the IKEA there if we just dive over. And if we just come over here, so like you can see, I don't want to go mental with the streets. It's going to take us absolutely bloody ages to street the whole map, and we don't need the full map to look like that. You know, I want people to be able to be looking over that way and think, oh, that's the dense inner city area and this is where they do the shopping. And then when we go further over, you know, we start hitting, this is probably going to be like city style apartments, a few parks, skate park, little prefabs like that. And then we've got a few residential areas. Obviously you can see the highway cutting through there. So if anybody actually downloaded and played Hazuta Mountains, I've spliced this and Hazuta Mountains together. I've basically replaced the middle with what I was working on my Slaan map. So you'll see bizarre little things like the military base floating in the air, because it's not supposed to be there. But I've connected the highway up. Basically, I'm not sure where it's going to go at this end, but it runs across, skirts the desert area, cuts through a bit of the canyon, crosses the water, comes into the main island, and then skirts across again. Now the idea is the T-junction's in there, it'll come down and it'll connect to the bridge, and then we go across the other bridge out of the city onto a thicker single highway, and then we'll meet the highway proper again back here. So just let that load up. I haven't done all the mesh files for the T-junction, so we won't see it yet, but there you go. Yeah, so like I say, that road's going to come up. We'll probably have on this road, I'll bring the highway maybe to this bit of road here, and then we'll have a busy main road. We'll stick some buildings and stuff in here as well. But I think we're looking at about 2,000 lines so far on the Prefabs XML. The park prefabs. So Cityblocks. Now I was absolutely devastated because during the experimental, before I decided to bin the old version of Slaan, I had made an awesome prefab with Takama's cathedral sitting in the middle. I think it's Notre Dame, I can't remember, but awesome prefab. It looks absolutely brilliant, and I wanted it as a centerpiece. So those random little park sections that you were looking at, all of a sudden kind of makes sense, I'm hoping. You know, it's a prefab doesn't have to be a building. A prefab can just be, you know, a well-placed billboard. I mean, fucking hell, man. Even these little things, them two signs and some poles are prefabs, because later down the line, if I want to drop another one of these in just to hoist some signs down, I can. Go into the menu. The whole point of the prefab pack, you know, was just to give you a bunch of tools, a library of just props and funky little things to sexy your map up with. I don't know, I'm just falling out of love with random gen, because random just isn't good enough for us anymore. I've been blessed and cursed with knowing what direction I've wanted for quite some time now. I just haven't really, you know, I keep changing things, or the pimps keep changing things, and then some ideas don't work anymore, and it's all been for the better. I mean, if I was to look at what I've got now versus what I had 2.5 years ago when I released the very first version of Slaan, I would never have imagined we would have had the capability to build something like this. And it's only through the pimps changing things and breaking stuff and then new ways to do things. I mean, Jesus Christ, when the block shapes come out, one block Empyrean style, and just all those shapes at your fingertips, it's going to speed prefabbing in the editor up even more. Awesome. I mean, can you just tell that I really like building prefabs and making cities? It's whenever people cry about 7 Days to Die, oh, it's that shitty performance game that's still in early access, and I still say to them, it's by far the best sandbox that we've got. 7 Days to Die is your game. It's the game that you want to make it. Stop being a lazy cunt and whinge and get yourself in the editor and do it. We can change all the XMLs. I mean, fucking hell, you don't even have to play bloody zombies, man. You can do medieval sorcery mods. It's the closest thing in versatility in my eyes that we've got to Minecraft, except this one looks awesome, the PvE is way better, the survival experience is way better, and it looks brilliant. But anyway, this has been a little bit of a sneak peek, I suppose. I would like to talk a bit more about the map in general, but I'm really, now that the pimps are starting to release bloody stream videos and stuff of 18, it cannot be that far off, and I would like to be playing on the first version of this when 18 drops. I don't intend to release anything until Alpha 18 goes live, so even when experimental phase comes out, there will be nothing until, like I said, until it goes live. I'm going to need the time, but I promise, regardless of what state it's in, I will be releasing what I've got in 18. We're at the point now where if people wanted to add prefabs, they can. You know, all I need is a copy of the prefab and the line in the prefab's XML telling us where you put it. If you wanted to modify the terrain and you are comfortable doing that, then do that, send it over, and you know, as long as it's not utter shit, we can work something out. The project itself now is kind of, it's starting to feel a little bit, for those of you who've played as long as what I have, like the old spreadsheet we had for Navezgane, where people recorded where they'd built stuff so that we could make Navezgane, you know, awesome and sexy with all the different prefabs and make sure that nobody built where other people had built. And this is kind of along the same sorts of lines, you know. If you wanted, you see the particular area and you thought, oh, that would look brilliant, you know, I could build this little dock and a jetty and a boat, and then we could have some shops and do it, put them in. You know, don't ask, Slaan, can I help? Can I team up with you? It's like, no. If you don't know how to do these things already, then you haven't watched my videos. Go and watch my fucking videos. If you know how to do these things, then fucking do them. Even if they clashed and I ended up ultimately not adding other people's things, there's nothing stopping you from taking a project like this and making it your own. It's you're fanning on. It's like playing with fucking Lego. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. Hopefully this is opening your eyes, wetting your lips. I challenge anybody to create a better skyline than that. I mean, come on, how amazing does that look? Like I said, you know, you couldn't even do this in Minecraft. Well, you could do it in Minecraft, but it would look utter shit. I love the way that the mesh files look. I'm actually hitting a point now with the city where you can't see all the prefabs. If we just quickly show bounds, you know, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to ram as much into the map as possible, but think something like San Andreas. You've got your main little city areas, you've got a few areas dotted around the map with your residential, a few mountain areas, airport, military base, you know, we'll get the essentials in there. And once the map's sort of fluffed up and nice, that's when I'll kind of go back to it and we'll start doing what I was kind of just hitting the point of in Slaan Hatton and reapproaching these sort of shoddy, if you, just to give you an example, I'll just teleport here for quickness. So like this city block here hasn't been modified, it needs its holes cut out and things like that, but for the purposes of just playing, it's empty. It looks a bit naff, but it's hardly game breaking. You know, you can just deal with shit like that until further down the line when we can fill it up. If somebody had a wicked idea, they can load this city block up and build and do stuff on this area and save me 5 minutes. Feel free. Right, I'm going to leave yous there. We'll just do a nice little zoom out. You know, it's coming in Alpha 18. It's coming in 18. Circuit racing, bridges, big fuck off insanely laggy art galleries, which is awesome, by the way. Pill and Top Minder really blew me mind with that that hand. Absolutely amazing. And the thing is prefabs like this, where they start to get a little bit laggy, when you're accommodating for things like that, then we put the prefab where it's only got other prefabs close to it that are, you know, even that skyscraper, it's already into its mesh file. You know, it's not, we don't have to put buildings like this in the middle of the city where all of the prefabs are. If performance does get a bit too bad, then maybe we'll just move it somewhere else where it's a little bit less laggy. You know, the sky is the limit. I don't think there's anything that we can't do with a little bit of thought and a little bit of creativity. But hopefully this is inspiring people to want to do things like this themselves. If I didn't have to make all the prefabs that I've used, I could have made this city in about 2 or 3 weeks if I was just dropping things in. It's that kind of easy. Now, I've had a lot of questions asking about Slaan, will you show how you edited the height map and all that sort of stuff, and it's a different beast entirely. Possible, but until I've got a good sort of little section of editing the height map, I mean, I've got no water, I need to fix a lot of things. It's all fixable, but you can see I've got custom hills. I'm starting to build this area up here. I shaved this bit out so that the highway could run through it. Any little stupid things with the terrain, you can just fix them. It's like I say, the game itself is so versatile now when it comes to building these maps up. It's a shame we can't take layouts like this and throw them into random gen like we used to be able to do with the custom hub layout code. Kinaju, if you're watching, you know, why can't we throw these military bases into the mixer? Oh, frustrating. But it means if people want to see these things, they've now got to download my prefabs. But the thing is, people might not like the whole map. They might want a fucking snow map that just has this military base in. If they want it, they've actually now got to build it themselves on their map, because each of these prefabs have coordinates. You know, they're all, yes, their positions relative to each other are always the same, and you could calculate, if you moved one prefab, the adjustments you would have to make to the coordinates of the rest to shift this whole layout somewhere else. Yes, it's as annoying as it sounds. I shifted this whole map. Every single prefab that was in the city I initially built on a different map, and I moved the whole fucking lot. And I'm sure some PowerShell wizard would make a funky little script that would fix it very quickly, but I am not that PowerShell wizard. It took me about a day. But the map's getting there. There's enough on there to play already. I've included the vast majority of the prefabs. I've even been through the compo pack now and started to use the theme appropriate prefabs, we'll say. It's not about dumping everything in, or as much in as possible. It's about, you know, making a tasteful map. I still haven't, we've got big empty areas here. Still haven't decided what to do with them yet. All these roads, you know, might disappear, I don't know, but we'll see, we'll see. I'll probably do another couple of videos before 18 drops. But like I say, unfortunately, I don't intend to release any downloads, any new prefabs or anything until 18 comes out. And then you will get a brand new map to play on, and probably somewhere in the region of 150 new prefabs to use in the world editor itself. So, on that note, I will say goodbye and see you next time.